Welcome back. Week 10, college football. Best bets are on the way. It's Austin joined by Logan. Yes, I am wearing my Shaggy costume once again, large in part due to you guys. Last week I said if you hit 500 likes, I dress up as Shaggy. I regret putting that offer out there because you guys smashed that like goal. So here I am, November 1st, dressed as Shaggy. I feel like an absolute bozo, but it goes well because last week, Logan, I felt like a bozo with all the picks I had. 2-5 week for me. Terrible. College football has not been great to me. Last week, you had a winning week, Logan, 4-3. Today, we had a bunch of big time games. We're going to dive right into them. They're all going to be timestamped down below. Then, as always, Logan and I wrap up with a couple other picks we liked, as well as our props of the weekend. And if our props sweep, we give away $50. Like and subscribe. Simple as that. Logan, let's dive into the first game of the weekend, arguably the biggest one, as the Ohio State Buckeyes go into Penn State to take on the third-ranked Nittany Lions. You're only seeing a 3.5 spread here, Logan. Ohio State laying 3.5, 46.5 total. I know you almost went to this game, but you won't be there. But what's the move? I'm sure you'll be watching it on your TV.
Yeah, of course. I will be watching this. I have a few Penn State friends here in Pennsylvania. They're gonna hate what comes out of my mouth, but I'm laying the points with Ohio State in this one. I just think this is a really bad spot for Penn State, and I do want to preface this with the location, the venue, and time of this game. Yes, it's in Happy Valley. No, it's not a night game. No, it's not a whiteout either. The fact that this is a noon game lets Ohio State off the hook big time to me. If this was at 7:30, there's a good chance actually I would be finding a way to get to Penn State. I just can't do it in this spot. Penn State also, they have injury concerns with arguably the most important position on the field, Drew Allar. He went down with a knee injury last week. Is he going to be fully healthy if he does play in this game? Their backup is like a little clone of Trace McSorley. All he does is run around. I think the Ohio State defense is able to game plan for him. Both defenses are elite in terms of stopping the run and not giving up a ton of passing yards. So that's why I think offensively I'm seeing an advantage for Ohio State. I mean, they've got the playmakers outside. They've got a two-headed running game just like Penn State does as well. The receivers are really what's going to make the difference in this game. And same with Will Howard, who's to me significantly better than Drew Allar. Just it is what it is there. I think the offense is the difference. I'll lay the points with the Buckeyes.
Yeah, I'm not directly fading you here. I'm actually taking Ohio State team total under 25.5. I think based on this total, you're sitting at a 46.5. We've seen some of these top 10 battles be super high scoring games. You'll just see randomly 30-30. And that actually included, that Ohio State Oregon game from a few weeks back. I'm not too bought in on the Ohio State offense. Last week struggled a little bit versus Nebraska. Kind of snuck out of that one with a win. Nebraska kind of choked that one towards the end of it. I just haven't seen a lot from that Ohio State Buckeyes offense. And like you kind of talked about, the Penn State has injury question marks. If they're going to keep this game competitive, I think it's that defense that steps up. I don't want to trust Penn State's offense at all because I just don't know if they can score a ton of points. But at home, I think their defense at least shows up, keeps them 24 points or lower. So I really like the Penn State. I think their defense shows up. So give me Ohio State team total under 25.5. My favorite pick there. Next game, Logan, I see you rocking your pullover as your Florida Gators are heading to their neutral site game every year. Jacksonville this year, they'll be switching it up in a few years to face the Georgia Bulldogs. Georgia, I believe, is coming off a bye. They're still laying 14.5. But interesting note, this game has come down from the 16.5 line down to 14.5. Obviously, not a lot of key numbers in there. But are you willing to back your Gators here? Come on, take them plus the points. I know you want to.
Absolutely not. One of my things, whenever Florida plays Georgia over the past several years, I always put a good amount of money on Georgia. They have our number, and that's just really what it comes down to. Florida hasn't played competitive against Georgia I think since the Kyle Trask, Kyle Pitts era. So that's been a hot minute for Florida. The reason why this spread's coming down is people just question Georgia, and that's when they're at their best. When you just think Georgia might be showing signs of weakness, they might not be at full strength, then they just go and have a statement win against the Gators, and that's what they're going to do in this one. The fact that the spread is only 14.5, that's a gift. I mean, there's line movement come down all the way to 13.5, and I'll even put more money on it, honestly. Georgia's won 3 straight in this series, all by 22 points or more. Lagway touchdown to interception ratio isn't great against a Georgia defense that's really good at disguising coverages. Yikes, Scooby. That's for you, Shaggy. But I mean, if we're looking at the Gators defense too, they're not going to be able to really stop the run. That's Georgia's offensive line will push them off the line of scrimmage. That's where Florida has a big weakness. They're just 66th in passing yards allowed. Georgia's 9th ranked passing attack. It's just not going to be good. Give me the Georgia, and I'll lay any amount of points with them.
Yeah, I still feel like a bozo wearing this costume. I gotta throw this thing away after the game. I don't even like looking at myself in the camera. I already did this for the NBA yesterday. But as for my favorite pick, Logan, I'm right there with you. I'll take Georgia minus the 14.5. I doubt this moves below 14.5 because that's such a key number at 14. But you talked about it. Georgia's won the last 3 by 27, 22, and 23 points. They just had their number. I think Florida's kind of not people underestimate them. I think they're better than people kind of think they are, but this is just not a good spot for them here. I think Georgia rolls over them. People are questioning them. Georgia will just spank them here. And I also have a prop in this game, but I'll save that prop for the end of the video. But I do like the Georgia Bulldogs minus the full points there. Next one, Louisville on the road in Clemson. Big number here, 62.5 total. Clemson's laying 10.5 points at home. Clemson's been kind of steamrolling teams. Louisville's kind of been sneaky. I feel like sometimes they look like the sharp spot to be in, and then they just lay an egg. I don't know if I want to get in behind the Cardinals here. What's your kind of take on this one with this high total?
Yeah, I'm actually going to lay the points with Clemson in this one. I think they're able to really contain Tyler Shuck, and that's how this Louisville offense goes. They go very heavily through him. They rely a lot on the pass, a lot on him airing it out. I think the Clemson defensive secondary, they have the guys to be able to really stop that. I also think they're going to turn him over a few times because Chuck, love him. He's played in college football for what seems like a decade. He's not that good at making decisions sometimes, and I think Clemson's able to disguise a few coverages, fool him a little bit. Also, K. Klubnik, Phil Maffa, I think they're going to just be able to go ball control type thing. That's why I'm not going to mess with the total, because Clemson, I've seen before, kind of just take a half to go chew clock and just really keep that Louisville offense off the field. I'm going to go ahead and lay the points with the Tigers. I just think this is not a great spot for Louisville. Even though they are good offensively, I question their defense. I don't really see them stopping Clemson.
Yeah, I'm kind of in that same boat. So I'm going to take Clemson's team total over. We've seen Louisville when they've matched up against big teams. They have just folded. I mean, you saw them just a few weeks ago when they faced Miami. What, they give up like 52 points in that game. Mm-hmm. Clemson's offense been rolling. Besides the game against Florida State, they've been piling on the points, 40 plus in every single other game. I imagine they're right in here, and I think they can easily get over the 40 number. I don't have the team total off the top of my head, so I'm pulling it up right now. It's already on the screen for the people out there. I just think Clemson, for all the points you said, I think they're able to steamroll them here. You're giving me a 35.5 total. Yeah, sure. I'll jump in on the 35.5. I think they can easily put up another 40 burger on this team. 40 points is plus 120 if you're looking for some good value. And then the final game we're going to cover, Logan, before we get into our individual picks, is another projected to be high scoring game. Pittsburgh taking on SMU. Last week I faded SMU and they almost lost outright. They probably should have. They blocked a kick to win that game against Duke. Now they're laying 7.5 points at home. Pittsburgh is undefeated, if I'm not mistaken. Interesting spread here, Logan. I don't love giving a lot of total picks, but I actually really like the over in this game. We've seen Pitt just go up and down the field. They're just not playing a whole lot of defense, and I think this could be another one of those games. Last week, SMU played one of the better defenses, in my opinion, with Duke, and they still hung 28 points on them. I think 21 in regulation. But look, I mean, Pitt, they basically, if they can't score, they're not getting competitive in this game. I'm not high on SMU's defense. I think you'll see Pitt, which doesn't, I feel like they don't run the ball. It's just passing. I like the over in this game. So I'll take the over, 57.5. I think that one should be closer to 60. So I like the over in that one. But what do you like, Logan?
Yeah, I like Pitt plus the points in this one. I really do. I am really rolling with Pitt on the spread. I think both these defenses are pretty equally matched. That's why, to me, picking a total in this one's kind of harder. I do see your angle, though, with the over for sure. What I really did like about Pitt's defense, though, is the way they were able to force turnovers. I mean, you could call it bad Kyle McCord, whatever, but I mean, some of those passes were not his fault. They were just good plays by defensive backs. This SMU team has not been taking care of the ball either. They had the SMU 6 turnovers, 3 interceptions, 3 fumbles lost. If Pitt and their secondary and their linebackers can do what they did last week, I think they're really going to be able to hang around with SMU, keep this game probably a 1-possession game, give us a chance to win this game, cover the spread, all that sort of stuff. I like Pitt. I think they're going to play really scrappy in this game.
Yeah, I think that one should be a tight one. Hopefully, we see that squeak over into the 60+ point territory. But now, best time of the channel because we get to go through some individual games that you might not have looked at. So, Logan, I'll let you lead things off. You have a couple game picks, and I'll let you start off with your first one of the weekend that isn't included in the first four games we just talked about. Where's your first pick going out to?
Yeah, so for mine, it's going to be a total. I stayed away from totals in a lot of those big time matchups, but I found an edge that I really like, and it's a Big Ten under. We love Big Ten unders, right? I'm taking the Northwestern and Purdue under 45. Look, you got two bad teams record wise, 3-5 Northwestern, 1-6 Purdue. I mean, that doesn't take a whole lot of explaining, right? On paper, normally bad teams, they play bad offensive football. Northwestern 119th in points per game, Purdue 116th in points per game. It's bad offense. It's Northwestern also 125th in passing yards, Purdue 119th. So really both these two teams are not explosive in the passing game, which is really what you want to see for an under. And both teams do want to run the ball. Purdue runs the ball 163 yards per game. It's what the identity of that team is. And honestly, Northwestern is actually okay at stopping the run too. They're just giving up 103 yards per game. It's looking like a low-scoring game, in my opinion, in this one. I don't really see them squeaking over that 45 line. I think it's kind of low, but low for a reason. We've seen a lot of these Big Ten games. Like everyone's been, preaching the Iowa under. Those are not a wagon anymore. You gotta find Big Ten unders of two bad teams, two bad offensive teams. And I think that's exactly what we're getting here. I love the under between Northwestern and Purdue as my first pick. Austin, throwing it back to you though.
Yeah, that Northwestern game might have 0 points scored because I took the under last week with that Iowa one. And somehow Iowa's put up a 40 spot. What the heck was that? My first pick for this, for our extra ones, I like UCLA +7. I like the Bruins. It's about -120. I bought the extra half point to get that key number of 7. It feels pretty easy to just look at the sports book. You'll see Nebraska, a team that's 5-2 or something like that. They've coming off a tough loss to Ohio State. Easy to back them against a 2-5 UCLA team. I don't know about that. I don't like laying points with Nebraska at home. That just feels like a team that's suspect. UCLA, sure, they haven't been great 2-5, but they faced some tough competition. I mean, we're talking about some teams that they beat. Every team they've lost to has been pretty bad. Last week, clutch win against Rutgers. Their offense looked really good. Ethan Garber's their QB, 400 yards, 4 touchdowns. So they got that going. And while Ohio State struggled last week against Nebraska, I'm still not confident in Nebraska being able to do it 2 times in a row. At home, this feels like a spot they overlook a 2-5 UCLA team. And I think that Ethan Garbers in this offense finds a way. They don't need to be great. They could backdoor this at the end of the game. +7, I'll take UCLA plus the points. I just don't think Nebraska's all that good. Not a big Raiola fan. I think this is a good UCLA team that's just a little bit undervalued given their record. I think they come in here and have a decent week. So give me them +7 at Nebraska. But Logan, what's your second pick of the weekend?
Yeah, it's going to be a controversial pick for sure. I'm taking Syracuse plus the 4.5. Syracuse, they go as Kyle McCord goes. Do we even need to talk about his last matchup? I think we do because I kind of hinted at it earlier. I mean, he was a turnover machine. It was like a what the heck am I watching kind of thing. This Syracuse offense is still 4th nationally in passing yards per game. They want to air it out with Kyle McCord for good reason, right? Sometimes you live by the pass, die by the pass. They died by it last week. It was a weird offensive game for them. They're facing a Virginia Tech defense though that is tied for 6th in sacks per game, 36 in passing yards allowed per contest. I really do think they're still going to be able to get some air yards on them. They just need to protect Kyle McCord. Hopefully, don't speed him up. As long as he's just kind of dinking and dunking short and intermediate throws to get him going, so he's not seeing ghosts on the field. Because I think that's really what it comes down to. If you're gonna be fading Syracuse, just assuming Kyle McCord's a turnover machine again, well, we see a lot of quarterbacks bounce back after performances like that. I think he bounces back in this spot. Syracuse also, they're going to be able to run the ball. I still think on Virginia Tech. We've seen Virginia Tech kind of get gashed on the run, in other spots too. I watched Vanderbilt go for 1 million yards on this Virginia Tech defense. I've seen Miami put up a bunch of yards on this Virginia Tech defense as well. I just think Syracuse is going to be able to go blow for blow, potentially win this game outright at home. I like the home underdogs in the spot, kind of a step-up game against a probably better team. I do like Syracuse plus the points in this one as my second pick. Austin, what do you got?
Yeah, we were talking pre-show about our picks, and yeah, it turns out I'm also on Syracuse plus 4.5, so that should be a good look. For all the reasons you said, we don't normally talk about our picks before we get on to recording, except for the extra picks, and it just so happened Logan and I overlapped on Syracuse. I don't need to go into depth too much. Logan already talked about McCord, 5 interceptions last week. I think if he doesn't have that terrible game, this spread's probably closer to 2.5. But the fact that he sucked so much, you're getting some value here at the 4.5. I think Syracuse could easily win this game outright. Virginia Tech's won 3 in a row, but it hasn't looked, they faced some pretty weak competition. So I think that you'll see the Orange be able to get a win here. So give me a plus 4.5 with you, Logan. And finally, we're going to go to our player props of the weekend. So maybe you're in a state that isn't have the greatest options for sports betting totals and money lines and stuff like that, but you have apps like PrizePicks or Underdog Fantasy. That's where our plays are going to do. As always, if we sweep our props, normally we have 2. I have 2 myself, plus Logan's 1. Mine are a little bit more juiced on the books, but on Underdog, they still have them there. If we sweep them, we go 3-0. We're giving away $50. Just like and subscribe. Let's try to sweep these props. There'll be an Underdog. A reminder, use code COS or the link in the description. They'll match your first deposit up to $1,000, like a 50% match. So use code COS or the link at the top of the description. But Logan, I'll let you lead things off with your favorite prop of the weekend, and then I'll finish us out with 2 props. What's your favorite one this weekend?
So my favorite one is in this Florida and Georgia game. I'm taking the former Florida Gator, Travis Etienne, over 81.5 rushing yards. I think this line is a gift. Again, I mentioned how high I am on Georgia in this game. I think they play a lot of ball control. I think they keep the ball away from Florida. A lot of that is going to be in part to their run game. If you look at kind of how this backfield's shaken out, I mean, there's injury questions besides Etienne, right? Roderick Robinson out with turf toe. Branson Robinson probably not going to be 100% if he does go in this one. His status not clear at the time we're recording this. Both of those guys are banged up, so a lot of the bulk of the carries will go to Etienne. Obviously, I just mentioned he is the former Florida Gator. He transferred out to the rival. You absolutely hate to see that. So is there added motivation for Etienne to show out against his old team? Of course there will be. Georgia's passing attack too. Carson Beck has been inconsistent at times. If I'm Georgia offensive coordinator, as long as Etienne's able to carry us, we're going to ride him for sure against this Florida defense that's giving up over 140 rushing yards per game. There's going to be a lot of holes for Etienne to run through. I think he gets all the yards needed to cash this over. I like Travis Etienne, the former Florida Gator. Pains me to say it, but I think he's going over. Awesome, what you rolling with?
Yeah, I have another prop in that game as well, but I'll put up my 2 props on the screen. Like I said, each of these are a little bit more juiced on the books for good reason. DJ Lagway, the Florida Gators quarterback, I like him to throw an interception, so over 0.5 interceptions. And RJ Harvey, the UCF Knights running back, to score a touchdown. Both those a little bit more juiced on the books, which is why I have 2 this week, but I think that's a 2-0 little player prop card. I think Lagway, like Logan kind of talked about early on in the video, Georgia's going to mix some coverages up, and if Lagway can't run for it, he might throw some sketchy balls, and I'm confident Georgia comes down with at least one of them, especially if Florida is trailing like we both think. And RJ Harvey, what does he have, like 13 touchdowns this year? UCF, once again, favorite at home. I don't know what the hell we're doing. UCF stinks. Arizona's not much better, but I do think that RJ Harvey, if they get in the red zone, the guy scores touchdowns. It's what he does. He'll be playing on Sundays, hopefully one of these maybe next year. But those are my 2 props to put them together with Logan's Trevor Etienne prop. Hopefully we go 3-0 and we can give away $50. But those are favorite picks for you guys. If you want to know our favorite picks in our full card, just scroll through out in the video. Let's have a Saturday, and we'll see you guys back for Sunday's picks. If you want to see a similar video for us doing the NFL, I'll link that on the screen. It's Austin Logan. We're signing out. Have a great Saturday. We'll see you in the next one. Peace. And I promise, last time you see Shaggy, I promise, never again. Peace.